my challenge is not every day, 5 times a day. That's the way life is now. Every 2 hours you see something new, something different, some challenging. If they are not there, then I create myself a challenge.
A challenge, yeah.
Okay, let's do this. And I make sure that then we work on it. If the teams are not coming together to help me on that, I'll work on myself and do it.
Hi, welcome. Yet another episode, and this time I'm like totally stoked. I got to count my stars on this because such eclectic mix of guests I have today here with me. Welcome, Parul. Welcome, Rahul. Welcome,
Thank you.
Vineet, to Unbound with Mamtaa. This is absolutely a special show and episode. Will always remain close to my heart because we are talking public relations. So just starting the game with you, Parul, a quick introduction and then we'll move.
Hi, thanks for inviting us, Mamta. Looking forward to the conversation. I'm Parul. I work with PR Movement India and I'm a former journalist, television journalist.
Yeah.
Nice to be here.
I'm Rahul. I'm with Burson. I'm a senior director there. Been in the industry for about 15 years.
Pleasure to have you both. Vineet.
Hi guys, I'm Vineet. Thank you, Mamta with double A. And I'm a PR student of a PR school, and I also run a company called Kaizen. Yeah.
Super. I mean, I think they've really sort of introduced themselves because I didn't have the courage to because each of their bios run more than a page and I can't remember so much about them. But truly coming to the soul and the spirit of the show, absolutely unstoppable humans doing phenomenal work where destinies have placed them. Have they chosen it for themselves? Or are they the destiny's choice? So let's begin with you, Vineet. What brings you to PR?
I have a blog called PR by Chance.
Okay.
And honestly, till the time I started working, I didn't know exactly what is PR all about.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I had a little sort of shaky start of my career. Actually, I had a great start. Started with ABCL, first day, out of college, and I joined on the same day of my last exam. So it was great. But then, of course, there's journey. I don't want to talk too much about it, but yeah. And then, in fact, I worked in Middle East for a while.
Okay.
And how that work has helped me now. I'll talk about that. But during the Kargil war, I was in India. I couldn't go back, and then hitting 5-7 different doors, I got this job in 7,200 rupees in a company called CMCG. That was my first PR job, and I said, I'll do anything you tell me. I'll do anything because I needed a job in year 2000, and that's how my PR career
Oh,
started.
wow. And 24 years and not stopping for sure.
Oh, it's just yesterday. Yeah, it's just yesterday.
Super.
Yeah.
Rahul, I mean, a very less popular choice amongst men. How did you find this adventure into PR?
It's interesting. I started as a journalist. Again, things just happened by chance. In my case, my girlfriend wanted to be a journalist, and therefore I just wanted to be with her.
Oh.
So I became a journalist. We just walked into the India Today office, and she said, "Here's my resume." I said, "Mera bhi le lo," and that's how life started.
And I think
for
you've
me.
been doing that to
I've
her
been
ever
doing that.
since.
I've been doing that with her forever. Public relations for me, thankfully, unlike for most people, for whom it's largely by chance because they sort of accidentally stumble into public
Yeah.
relations because they don't know what else to do. In my case, it was very well thought out. I had worked outside of public relations. In fact, I didn't even know what PR was having been a journalist, and I was an investigative journalist, so I didn't deal with PR folks in that sense. I
Right.
wasn't doing corporate
Yeah.
news. Then I set up a media company for a industrial house. Then I worked with the not-for-profit sector for a while, where incidentally I started doing communications and internal communications a little bit of marketing, fundraising, where I started understanding that aisa cheez hota hai.
PR.
Then I wanted to join an agency, and it so happened the choice was, do I do advertising? Do I do public relations? I actually chose public relations because I thought this was interesting. It sounded, advertising is glamorous. There's no question about it. It's very beautiful from the outside, but it somehow, uh, there was something that drew me to PR. I think it was the fact that I'd learn more, as part of a thing of building brands, and that's it. I've been here for 15 years, though I wanted to only do it for a year. But abhi bhi wahi kar raha hu, and I've grown to. I have to admit, I have not loved PR. But as I've grown and spent more time in the industry, I've respected the industry and the professional and the vocation much more than I did maybe 10, 12, 15 years ago.
Yeah, I think PR has grown on you rather than
It's grown
you.
on me. It has.
What about you, Parul? So very, very interesting pedigree and to where you are today. Please take us through your journey.
So I had a very interesting exposure to the power of PR very early on in my career.
Yeah.
My first job was with India Business Report on BBC. And my boss, Raghav Behel, who now owns Quint, he once told me that, Parul, if you want to be successful, it's not just talent. You have to have good PR with people as well.
Oh, wow.
Which was a hint as well, because I was very brash. So that was my first introduction to the word called PR.
PR.
So from there, because of certain health reasons, I had to leave active TV journalism. And I started doing health communications for HIV, AIDS, TB, and malaria. And we did that for about 10 years, me and my business partner, Ranjit Monga. And we were actually doing proper health communications before all the agencies had
Yeah.
verticals and entire companies who specialize in it. So that was my entry into PR. Then after a while, I felt like going back to journalism, and somehow Ben came along, and here I am as editor of PR Moment, which has been a great journey so far, last 12 years, understanding PR. And like Rahul said, it's totally changed. If I had to enter PR as a professional now, I think it would be a challenge.
Yeah.
And this journey has now brought me to Unbound with Mamtaa.
You're most welcome. And I think your passion for health with the recent HealthCom awards and how you've been really nitpicking on every piece of the work that the comms community is putting there is phenomenal. So really kudos to that too. So coming back and really opening the floor to the question that lines are still blurring. They've always been blurred. PR, I think, has not done PR enough for itself, at least not in the outside world. I'm not talking about the fraternity and the
Quite
community
true.
here. Be it business, MSMEs, entrepreneurs, they still are very confused about what PR brings to you. How do you think should we really be dealing with this? Yeah, Parul, we can start with you.
I think, firstly, we tend to beat ourselves a lot in the PR business that we're not this, we're not that. So I think the first step would be that to accept that we are quite powerful, we are quite influential. If we weren't, they won't be talking about us so much, and journalists wouldn't be tagging and harassing us so much online. So I would say that admit that this is powerful. Yes,
Yeah.
a lot needs to be done to educate clients and potential. There are two things. One, to educate clients on the value of PR, and the second thing is to make PR aspirational for young people who enter. So that's a very important part of it. If you look at a show called Call Me Bae, which I really enjoyed watching, she's a journalist. So why not a show where it's a young PR executive
Yeah.
and have that?
I think Emily in Paris did a bit of that perception
She
building,
did, but that
yeah.
was, I mean, we know no real PR person would be
Yeah.
like, would do something like the kind of stuff she did.
Yes,
She
yes.
made herself a story which is not about PR.
Yeah.
So it's education. Keep on, do what you do for your clients,
Yeah.
educate people. And I would say most importantly, don't be underconfident. You guys are great.
Yeah. What about you, Vineet? I think you've been really championing that part and that piece that I want to encourage more people to join the business of PR. So, what's your take?
So I feel so almost 24 years in this business, yeah. So whatever I am today is because of PR. I think, and the way I really look at the situation today is far, far, far better. You know, when we started, there was no concept as far as career is concerned as a PR, right? Today, there are at least, if not 100 odd colleges and universities are offering these
Yeah.
degrees here, right? That means there is a conversation, there is a people looking at the industry as a great career option. So I think that part has been taken care. Now the second part where we sort of need to build on is and many a times I've spoken about this, that we are bigger than any communication vertical. If I really look at, there are verticals. So the way I say it is, even an advertising company need a PR agency,
That's true.
right?
That's
Even
true.
an advertising agency needs a PR company.
Even a digital social media
PR
agency.
company
Yeah.
PR company doesn't need an advertising
Yeah.
agency to advertise themselves. So if we it says all. It says that we are superior than anybody else.
Yeah.
What we do, people cannot do. And it's a very specialized job. Uh, you know, you look at any and I'll start talking from the crisis point of view. Anywhere crisis hits, the first thing comes is a PR, right? Why is that? Just think about it. Because we have the power to change narratives. We have the power to change narratives. And that is the strongest thing which PR can bring in. And guys, if you can do that, you own it. The third part of this is valuing it. I think that is where the industry has to really work around. That is where industry has to really work about. The only challenge which I really see as far as value is concerned, because the without naming in a vertical or an industry, because they have a physical output, they value it more.
Yeah.
Software values more. So I think that's one part of it, and it's all also about the peers. I think there has to be a very community initiative from Copcom to PR to make sure that they are valued well, we are valued well.
Yeah,
inside
yeah.
the system.
I think you made a very interesting point, and I'm going to just pick your thoughts also on this, Rahul. When we were talking backstage, that you came into PR with your eyes open,
Yeah.
but
True.
people. I don't know how many people on the block really understand what they're getting into when
True.
they say PR, and secondly, they are really aspiring to be the best PR professional, or let's say the best PR agency owner. So, do you think the gap is still there, or the landscape is changing?
So, first of all, to your earlier question, the landscape has changed. I'll tell you about something somebody once told me when I joined PR for the first time, and I had the opportunity to be mentored for a short while by Mr. Roger Pereira, who had set up Edelman and brought Edelman into the country. And, he told me that unfortunately PR is not recognized, or not a vocation that is really respected in India. He says, if you look at advertising, today advertising has great names. You've had the old advertisers like Alec Padamsi and Sam Balsara. Today you have Prasoon Joshi and
Piyush
Piyush Pandey
Pandey,
and
yeah.
people like that. Now, these are names that you recognize beyond the immediate ambit of just advertising, right? These are
Right.
people, of course, they're advertisers, they're flamboyant, they're in your face. You see them much more than you see a
Yeah.
Rahul or a Parul or a Vineet or people like that. But he said, these people fashion the industry. Because if you remember, in the 70s, advertising was not a good vocation. If you told your dad or mom, मैं advertiser बनने जा रहा हूँ, तुम्हें मार पड़ती, because it was looked down upon. But that industry has really changed and come a long way. And I think PR is doing the same. It's, from when I started to where it is now, huge strides. You have great names, but the fact is, these names are largely still within the ecosystem of PR. Even today, when a young adult who's joined the industry tells his parents, or her parents, that I'm joining the PR fraternity, they're still not sure कि
Yeah.
भैया ये क्या है?
हाँ.
What are you
Eh,
doing?
कुछ और देख लो.
Yeah, हाँ. Uh, lots of reasons. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
think we can get into that.
Yeah.
But the good thing is, as you know, to Vineet's point, shifts are happening. It'll take time. Still some journey to be traversed. But I think we can be safely optimistic that it's headed in the right direction.
Yeah. Coming to each of your personal challenges of making where you are today in the business. So, Vineet, starting from you, you said that I don't want to talk about it, but if I were to go a little further and ask you that about your tryst with PR and then how you've really made it where you are today.
So my first twist with PR, very interesting. I was a management trainee with ABCL, Amitabh Bachchan Corporation
Oh,
Limited.
wow.
And
Is that a well known fact?
not I don't know.
Okay.
Actually, it doesn't matter as well right now because that's something which is past, right? My first twist with PR, Ashwini Singla, I remember. I think Clea was the agency for them during Miss World in 98, 99. And because I was an intern, I was put in on this Chinnaswamy Stadium gate where the event was supposed to happen. And my duty was to usher a journalist on a press conference day where Mr. Bachchan was supposed to address the press
Oh,
conference
wow.
from a gate to the hall. And my job was I was given to give them the press kit and take them, sir, please come and sit here.
Yeah.
That was my first understanding. And it's something called press conference. And this something called, a journalist, people speak and then they go and write about
Make
it.
notes, yeah.
And there's a press card. And that's what I was asked in my first interview by Mr. Sameer Kale, who's my first PR guru, that what do you know about PR? I said, I know that there's media, we invite media, we take them and we hand it over. So I said, I handed over a press kit to him. He said, what all was there in press kit? I said, there was a notepad, pen, a press release, and the list of all the participants of, their countries and all of that, the
Yeah.
brochure.
Yeah.
And he hired me then and there. He
Yeah.
said, you're in. 7,200 rupees. And I was like, happiest person on my earth and joining a PR agency because I've got a job. So I think that's where I understood that it's about media relations. It's about dealing with media. Now, as far as Kaizen is concerned, I changed 3 jobs: CMCG, Genesis, and Terry. So I was director communications for Terry before I started. I was probably the youngest guy in that whole, Terry, if you know, is an organization of lot of substance, lot of weight, lot of knowledge.
True.
And the people who were sort of there, amazing. And so it was a very different experience. But all 3 jobs I somehow changed the day it became very cushy for me, where I felt, I'm not facing any challenge in life now. So I think that's where it sort of said, no, I think now I will become probably a chair or a table or a furniture here. So let
Okay.
me, because, how much more you can do, right?
Contribute, yeah.
And then because of my friends, I started Kaizen. That's also a very interesting story. And then my challenge is not every day, 5 times a day. That's the way life is now. Every 2 hours you see something new, something different, some challenging. If they are not there, then I create myself a challenge.
A challenge, yeah.
Okay, let's do this. And I make sure that then we work on it and do it. If the teams are not coming together to help me on that, I'll work on myself and do it. Say, hey, you take it forward.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get very impatient.
Yeah.
You see somebody else's journey and you say, hey, see, in 5 years, that guy has reached somewhere. I have been after 10 years, same place. I'm not. No. I personally feel that everybody has its own time. You just need to keep focus on what you want to do, how you want to do. There will be a time.
Yeah.
There will be a time. I have probably 50 odd stories. The people who are my clients, they've been watching me for last 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. That how he's building it, what is happening. And now they have a courage to hire us. So nothing happens overnight.
Yeah.
Rome is not built in now. So you have to be patient. You have to be there. You have to be seen. You have to keep on doing good work.
Yeah, which is such a compliment to PR, which we anyway say that it's a very sustained effort to be
Exactly.
where you are. So, I mean, your personal challenges in the profession, like in this journey.
Uh, yeah, so firstly, work-wise, the biggest challenge right now is to demonstrate the value of good content over events.
Yeah,
Because currently, what is happening is that, and of course, we also depend on events to a certain extent for as the revenue model.
revenues.
So, to maintain the quality of journalism and content that we want to is a huge challenge, and that is something which I am trying to hope to address. When I first started out in journalism, our editors never took a byline, and I implemented that in PR Moment for many years. I didn't take a byline. It's only during COVID that I started taking a byline for my stories, and because that's not the role of an editor. You're supposed to shape and guide the highest standard of content. It's not about taking personal guidelines. So that has
Yeah.
been my challenge, to come out and be more active on social media, and say that we are doing this, and I have done this. And it's very anti what an editor is actually supposed to be.
Yeah.
But the environment has changed so much that if you're not a bit of a sort of promoter of your own content, then the magazine suffers.
Yeah.
So I would say that is an extremely important challenge. Along with that, of course, I have something called Meniere's disease, so which makes mobility a bit of a challenge for me. I cannot fly. Some restrictions are there, and I think it's been great working with Ben, the publisher of PR Moment India, because uh, he has supported me during this journey. I'm not sure many bosses would have kept on someone who is quite restricted mobility wise. So I think the PR industry has been wonderful. Wherever I go, if I ask for help, I get it. There are times when I have to take elevators in a wheelchair because I can't tolerate the movements,
Okay.
and the PR firms have put somebody with me and helped me out. So it's been a so I have to whenever I work, I have to first physically overcome my physical challenges and then get to work. So it's a
Yeah.
double challenge
Yeah.
for me, but it's very much handleable. And the PR industry has been most welcoming,
Yeah.
very welcoming.
That's like a real beautiful
So
example
I
of the
would-
community standing together.
I would tell you something more.
Yeah.
There are two things which you have to earn. First is respect, and it's not about the industry; it's about her.
Yeah.
Parul, as a person, with her ethical practices, ethical content, looking at everything, has earned that respect.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, there was an example to it. We announced something called Kaizen Global. This time it was big for me. I reached out to everybody and shared. Parul was the first person to call me that, okay, this is fine, but tell me who are your partners. And I was so happy when she asked me this. Because if I see the other side, I would, as an agency, I would tell my clients that, okay, fine, we understand your challenge, but keep it handy. And I think these are the things which earns respect. And we are in a business of building, credible reputation.
Totally.
And then Parul always has been, forefront of that.
Yeah. And to be very
Thank you.
honest,
Thank
having
you, Vinny.
known you for so long, I mean, until we would have met today on this set, I don't think you've let this come in the way of your professional progress at all, because I've never heard you ever talk or take this as a reason or an excuse or whatever. I mean, which could be otherwise maybe. So, I mean, really hats off to you to have even carried on with that courage and confidence in yourself.
Thank you. But here I'd like to say that it takes a village to help a
Yeah.
person with a disability.
Yeah.
The industry support, people like Vineet. I mean, uh, Vineet has never told me I won't tell you something. He's always told me, okay, I'll tell you this, but he's upfront that, we can't talk about this yet.
Yeah.
And I've understood his point of view.
Yeah.
And he takes the trouble to take you through the story. The other thing is it takes a village. I have great support from home. I have also have very good support from my boss. So it really takes a village for you to be able to do this. And I would also like to say for other people who are living with a disability that I undergo frequent counseling
Okay.
and who helped me design a plan on how do I share with people that professionally that these are my problems. And I think that's that was very helpful. And once a quarter I go back for a session. So I would just like to share this learning with other people that please design your village to support you.
Yeah.
People want to help, and take a professional's help, counseling, physiotherapy, whatever you need.
Absolutely. Rahul, coming to your journey, again, any personal challenge that is hindered, or really, you have gone past to make it where you are today?
No, I don't think there are any personal challenges, but I'd just like to add two things which I think are very important to the industry we represent,
Yeah.
which are challenging. One is, of course, the inability yet of clients to really understand PR in its true sense. When you're protecting corporate reputation and building it, and you're a brand custodian, how does PR actually work? I find, that is still a process of evolution. You find the multinational clients understanding it far better, especially the big ones like the Microsofts and the Googles, because they've done it all, they've seen it all, and they know the value that public relations brings to the whole marketing mix, right? In fact, I think they've, in that sense, really been trendsetters, the large tech companies. Indian companies have followed suit. Many of them do, but we still get into situations where CEOs and CXOs really don't understand how
Yeah.
the narratives have to be shaped and how it exactly works. Because
Yeah.
the assumption is, I've hired this PR agency. कल तो टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया के फ्रंट पेज में या इकोनॉमिक टाइम्स में स्टोरी आ जाएगी.
Yeah.
भैया वो स्टोरी ऐसे नहीं आएगी. It's not advertising
So
where you pay
are we
money.
underselling PR? What is the reason?
No, that is
really?
one. And the other thing, and the other problem is money. There is cost arbitrage is still a very important sort of thing in the industry. And that, of course, affects the industry as a whole. And the third thing, which is symbiotic with these two problems, is the kind of people you end up picking up, right?
Okay.
Young people especially. See, people like us, we got into PR, for good or bad, with our eyes open, understood it, made, something for ourselves. But a lot of young people they stumble into PR. कुछ नहीं कर पाए तो यार चलो वो we've heard of something called public relations तो उसमें चले गए. I've seen a lot of that happen.
Okay.
That for me personally, when I've seen the kind of people entering the industry, sometimes it's been disheartening. I wish this industry attracted better people. The kind of courses people do, both in journalism and public relations, unfortunately, they're not up to the mark, right? People spend a lot of money, but I find the best PR people and the best journalists are those who join a media house or a PR company and intern and work right from the beginning, as opposed to learning something and coming because they're still zero, after spending that money.
Yeah.
I think these are professional challenges that I've seen. Again, Vineet and I were talking about this whole thing of cost arbitrage. I think that'll change. It's the industry's working towards it. Let's see. Yeah.
You've been an advertiser at heart, and probably even you wanted to always remain an advertiser with by your profession. What has kept you to PR? Of course, you say that I came with a plan of just being for 1 year, but what has really kept you here?
I think it's the challenge and the difficulty of the profession.
Yeah.
It is not an easy profession.
Hmm.
I don't know if Parul and Vineet might have different perspectives. They've seen more, they've done more. Uh, it's tough. It's tough, and I know I struggled. I'm not saying that I'm the best PR guy the world has seen. I do some good things. There's very many things that I don't do too well, and other people do it. Uh, it's been a tough journey. I've learned a lot, but I'm not the kind of guy who gives up. In fact, today I am more excited about PR now than I was 10 years ago.
Okay.
10 years ago, I used to look at myself in the mirror and say, why did I come into PR? Why didn't I go into advertising when there was a advertising agency waiting to take me in? They're glamorous, they're flamboyant, they put, creativity jo hoti hai. You see that in advertising.
Yeah,
You don't see that every day from a PR perspective. But today, my concern is, and perhaps it's also a thing of excitement with the whole generative AI thing coming into play and the shifts in technology coming into play, what is going to happen to this industry?
Yeah.
And I swear, I keep awake at nights thinking, how are we going to transform ourselves? Not the next 2 years or 3 years. 2-3 years, nothing's going to change. I'm talking about the next 10 and 15 years. What is going to happen? The symbiotic relationship between a media house and a PR agency, that's going to completely change.
Yeah. Your thoughts on that, Vineet, because 24 years and not stopping, only going great guns and global now, and with God's grace, lots more to come your way. But what has really kept you to PR?
What has kept me to PR? It started with no other option, but then it became a way of life. And I think most importantly, what kept me to PR is the people. If I really look at it, my journey into PR is clearly a people-led thing, especially the Kaizen. It's the people who drove me. It's the people who made me where we are today as a company. Because, they were the core reason why, I kept on doing things. So year 2, we were all losses. And there's a very famous, and it's me and my wife with one kid for 142 rupees with us. That's all.
Oh.
We were broke. But then, what happened? There were these 4 people who were working for me, and that was the core reason that, hey, if I close Kaizen, they'll have to. And those were days there's no jobs available, right? Not that there are jobs available kind of easily. And that sort of drew me, let's give one more try. And that's how then the Kaizen, say, 2.0 started and things like
Wow.
those. For many years, it was the same, steady, you retain. So there was a time when even if I get 2 new clients in a year or 2 new projects in a year, I'm like super happy, man. This year we did well,
Wow.
apart from retention. Then there was a time when I felt, if I have to give a kind of a growth to my team, I have to grow too. Otherwise,
Totally,
there's no growth,
yeah.
right? You're sort of stuck. Then we started saying, hey, no, we need to do more. Then we said, hey, this year, let's aim to get 5 more clients, right? That's how we grew. Now, that's where the Kaizen 3.0, which I would say is where when we started doing a little bit, we started going out because of growth, not growth which I wanted. I'm a very a minimalistic kind of a person. But then when you look at these people who, when they, and how you judge that, these people who talk about their friends in other agencies, right? And you'll say, hey, we should do this. Why are we not going to a trip outside? Why are we not doing this? All of that, right? And you need money for everything.
Yeah.
So that's how we started going out. We started investing into it. Then people started coming in, who wanted to work with us. And that's where this whole journey started.
Wow,
Okay, yeah.
how fabulous! So it's actually an entrepreneur's. I think he just pushes the limit basically for others. Is it like always about the others?
See, it's a perspective, I think.
Yeah,
I'm giving a perspective that for me it has been for
for yeah,
people.
yeah,
Because even today, if we are a 200 plus team, the focus is that how do we make sure that we give them a good increment every year. Their salaries should be on time, their PF, their ESIs, their health insurance. uh, in last 3 years, their health insurance limits, I'm increasing 50,000 every year
yeah.
for the family. And it's like, it's not only you, but it's like you, your family, and your parents. I've realized, and I've been suffered by that. We were from a small town, and I'm
Yeah.
giving you a small example. My parents didn't have insurance. Luckily, me and my two elder brothers, we were good to, financially to take care of them.
Support, yeah.
But not everybody can. And that's where I said, no, my insurance policy has to have parents in that policy involved. So our policy has 6 people maximum, so that your parents can be part of it. So I think these are my own learning, which I have put into practice, and it works. It works.
Yeah. What about you, Parul? What has really kept you at it? Of course, you made your beginnings from journalism, but
I think again, firstly, there were new stories to tell about PR, and I've been fortunate enough to see the evolution when PR Movement India first started. It was still very much at the media engagement, media ties level, and now look at where we are.
yeah,
It's totally transformed. Whether it is the kind of clients, whether it's the kind of services, media engagement is no longer the only thing. And very very quickly some of the bigger firms also outsourcing that out
yeah,
because they want to go up the value chain and focus more on consulting. The kind of sale that you saw with WPP earlier this year to KKR, it's I mean unbelievable, unheard of in this sector for a company to be valued at a billion plus. So there's so much happening in the world of PR, and in many ways still find it very similar to the early days of TV journalism, where there were a lot of young people, not so much of restriction on fixed roles and hierarchies, and a lot of creative freedom. I mean, PR is extremely creative,
yeah.
and I'm not saying that you make up fake narratives, but the way you write, the way you catch the news, the way you put it out on multiple platforms, it's extremely creative. I've met some wonderful people here, so I really enjoy talking to them and covering this industry. So at the end of the day, I'm a news junkie and a storyteller, and the PR industry provides me with that.
Yeah.
So it's been lovely.
I know some of your biggest indulgences are reading 4 newspapers a day, but then how do you make time for that kind of news consumption in your mind space? I mean, totally from that point of view.
So it's my training from the days of journalism, from TV journalism, because when we started in TV journalism, we didn't have the advantage of understanding editorial. It was a lot of it was understanding the technology involved.
Okay.
TV journalism is a very unique sector in which creativity, news sense, and tech all move together to create a story. And unlike a print newspaper where you can file a story and push off, in TV journalism you have to edit your story, also sit on the edit. So it's a very wide thing, and unless you understand your story, and TV demands that you focus on the heart of the story much faster than print, where you have the liberty to write 800. An average TV story would be 400 words. So you had to understand journalism, and I was very fortunate that we had a great boss in TV who made us write a basic concept, a one pager, for every story we did before we shot it. So you couldn't do that without reading newspapers. So I got into the habit, and now it's unthinkable for me not to have. I sit with my cup of coffee in the morning. My dog protests a lot because he wants his attention in the morning. But it's my absolutely sacrosanct ritual to go through the newspapers. And today I left very early, but the newspapers are there in my
In
car.
your car, I'm
So
sure.
to
I'm sure
go.
we'll find a copy each in each of our cars.
No, but
So, what about you,
I'll just
Rahul?
take 2 points from what both Vineet and Parul said, which resonated with me. First, Parul, I think having started with TV and being a journalist makes you a better PR person.
Okay.
Definitely, because you understand the nuances of storytelling.
Telling.
And
Yeah.
ultimately, what is PR? What are all of us? We storytellers,
Storytellers,
right?
totally.
Journalists tell a story in a different way. PR professionals tell a story in a different way.
Yeah. In fact,
And
a tougher way because we have to sell the
and
story
ideally
to
you find
media.
the sweet spot which
Yeah.
works for both the journalist as well as the company
Yes.
brand that you represent.
Yes.
And the other thing that Vineet said, which resonated with me in terms of what's sort of kept one going
Yeah.
for so long is actually people. And I often tell this to my teams that a company is just four walls and a name, on a
Yeah.
piece of paper. Ultimately, it's the people you work with that matter. They could be your clients on one hand, and they could be your immediate teams. And again, that was a very, very relevant point that you raised, which is also so relevant for us, for me personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, coming to passion pursuits, some of your secret indulgences, be it with respect to the profession or otherwise, a quick jab.
इतना काम कर लिया कि पैशन तो भूल गया हूँ.
काम ही मेरा passion है.
Kami passion.
So that's number one.
Yeah.
I mean, people may laugh, people may say anything, but that's number one.
Yeah.
There's nothing else.
Which is?
And work.
Work.
That's passion. There's a lot of conversation about this 70-hour work week. Mr. Murthy spoke about it. Of course, thanks to our media friends, they didn't take the whole concept together, right? It was about youth. That whole interview, if you look at, he spoke about youth. He was very clear that if you have time, focus on that. This is a time you can do this. The more time you spend, the more you learn, the easier and faster growth you will have. I am a clear example. My first job, CMCG, I worked for 2.5 years. And I remember these were the days, no internet.
Yes.
For a internet, I need to go to a cyber cafe.
Yeah.
And believe me, the choice of office was that there is a cyber cafe in next door.
Yeah.
Can you beat that? That was the
criteria.
right where you're spending the whole day on a fax machine. We used to get our photocopies done outside. I fought with my boss to get a photocopier inside the office so that I saved that
Time
time and
bachega.
time bachega, paisa bachega.
Correct.
And entering office at 7:45 so that you can read newspapers,
Yeah. Yeah.
put
the
marks, cut,
coverages.
and all top papers we will have 2 copies because many a times there is a story in front, there is a story in behind, and why you're cutting the front story, the backside story is gone.
Yeah.
So you'll have to have another paper to cut that.
Yeah.
Do that pasting on your letterhead.
Yeah.
Create that, and
Dossiers.
it should be in my client's table before he enters the office or the minute he enters. So 10 a.m. all the industry stories, everything should be with him.
Yeah.
So those were different days. If I would have not worked 70 hours a week, believe me, my growth would have been not what it is. I am still happy. So I would say it's your choice. It's purely in your hand whether you want to work for 70 hours and make it big, or you want to work for 8 hours and leave up to the God to make it big. Right?
For the forces.
Yeah. So I think that's where it is.
Yeah.
So that's point number one. The second thing which I really wanted to sort of talk about is passion. I think it was more about that, right? If given a chance, food. Yeah, I'm a fully foodie, vegetarian, but foodie.
Mm.
You tell me, you ask me Chennai, Kolkata, Kerala, Trivandrum. You tell me places, and I'll tell you vegetarian food. Go and eat here.
Wow.
That's what my one passion. Uh, Travel, of course, that goes without saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
People say whether it's sea or hills. I say it has to be, peaceful. That's
Yeah.
all. I'm not. If you're, people who live in Delhi, Gurgaon, Mumbai, I think for them peaceful things are more
Yeah.
important than the
Like I
crowded
say
thing.
कि pin code change हो जाना चाहिए. But it should be a change of pin code that
Yeah.
should happen.
So,
How about you, Rahul? Passions, pursuits, have any time for that or
Yeah.
things that make you unbound?
I, yeah, time is always a problem. So that's an issue. I agree with Vineet. 70-hour work week, important, especially when you're young. Passion for me really is very simple. I love to read. Uh, I love animals. I have dogs. I've always had dogs. So I think between these two things, there's a little bit of time that one spends. I don't like traveling.
Okay.
My wife does. That's a problem in our marriage. She will travel at the drop of a hat. I actually don't like
You're a
traveling.
homebody. Yeah.
I prefer being with my dogs.
Yeah.
I'd rather read. Entrepreneurship is a passion. I've always, my dad's was an entrepreneur. So, when I meet entrepreneurs, if there's one thing I envy, I don't envy people the fancy cars or the big houses. I envy them the fact that they were able to start an entrepreneurial journey when they did. So for me, that is a passion. So I'm constantly thinking about, what can I do,
Yeah.
which is beyond what I'm doing right now. I don't want to ever stop thinking about that. And
Sure.
so, yeah.
Yeah,
these
keep
things.
fueling that thought. How about
Yeah.
you, Parul?
So my passions are, some of them are similar to what Rahul and Vinita
Oh,
said.
wow.
I'm a major foodie.
Yeah.
I love discovering new restaurants. Coffee is like a religion for
Yeah.
me, and I love discovering new places for coffee. My current favorite is a place called Mayol Bakehouse.
Oh,
Shout
wow.
out to them.
Oh, wow.
And like Rahul, I am not just like dogs, I'm crazy about them.
Yeah.
So I have a wonderful golden retriever called Linus. So after the
Linus.
Peanuts comic,
Okay.
so he's actually saved me, because when I feel he's my guardian angel, because
Oh.
when I don't feel like going out, he's the one who makes her fast and says, take me out, and only you will take me out.
Oh.
He refuses to go with anybody else. So he makes sure that I do the activity, which is very important for me health wise. So the other passion that I have is comics. I love comics, and I feel comics they make you a better journalist.
Yeah.
They they certainly make you a better storyteller, and they're just so much fun. So I still read Asterix, Tintin, Archie comics, Peanuts, Calvin, my favorite.
Wow.
So I think like I just love comics and cartoons. So I absolutely adore that. And my other passion is definitely reading. So at any given point in time, I'm reading 3-4 books at the same time,
Yeah.
and I just love my Kindle. I think I'm a little bit in love with my Kindle because it allows you to store so many books,
Books, yeah.
together. So reading, coffee, food, animals, and at some point, I aspire to set up a foundation for animals
Okay.
to
Wow.
look after them. The other thing I'm very passionate about is tarot reading. So I'm a professional tarot reader.
Wow.
But of course, I don't advertise that too much because I don't want people to think I'm flaky. So that's why I
No,
don't do
that's
that.
one major common interest between you and me. While of course there's an overlap on Archie's and all of that too. So that's excellent. I mean, are you left with time to fuel your passion or not, or do you take
Yeah,
out time
I
for
make
this?
my time.
You
I
make
make
your
my time. I
Yeah.
make sure, because it's, and my dog is insanely crazy. If I take any calls after 6 p.m. in the evening, he creates the ruckus of the century. He will
Wow.
bark. I have known him to bark at people I'm talking to on phone.
Oh, wow.
So,
Keep the phone.
so he's very clear that 6 to 8 is my time,
Wow.
and he makes sure that he gets his time. So I think I think you have to make the time if it's
Correct.
important to you. You have to make the time.
Absolutely. I
Thank you,
think,
Paru, for heads up.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, I've never called her as it is. I would always send a message and wait a reply back.
6 to 8, we know not
Yeah.
to call you for
No,
sure.
I think that's also just a habit.
Yeah.
Anybody I have to call out of the blue, I will send a message. Even my team,
Yeah,
I just send a
absolutely,
message.
absolutely.
That's true.
That's a
Yeah.
You
that's a
always
due
check first.
Yeah.
due respect. So talking about food, what's your favorite indulgence then? Anytime, every time.
No, this is ye bhi acha hai, wo bhi acha hai,
Oh
wo
my
bhi
God.
acha hai.
Rahul, one quick pick for you, like food, travel, people, anything. Like what keeps you going?
Books,
Books.
technology.
Mm.
I love gadgets. Yeah, food I love. I mean, I was just hearing what he was saying.
Yeah.
So I very resonates with me very closely. During our media days and even subsequently, kahin jaake, these holes in the wall, you go and grab something. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, one tries, doesn't do it as much as one would like to. That's the only thing.
Okay. So, coming to some of the FOMOs, we all have ones. Of course, as a marketer and a PR professional or a journalist, we are always like running for things कि यार ये छूट ना जाए, वो ये कर रहा है तो मैं ये करूँ. But in your personal life, any biggest FOMO that you have, fear of missing out on something? You're overthinking this,
I'm
Vineet.
overthinking because I'm just thinking my real FOMO is if I can help as much as people, and
Oh.
when I'm not able to do that, that sort
That
of,
kind of, okay, leaves you
yeah,
little.
it's a. And I yesterday alone, there was a office guy who came and wanted something, and I'm like thinking how I can do it instead of money. If there's a way I can do things
So
for
this
him.
can disturb you. This
Oh,
can put you off
it
off
can,
balance.
it can,
Yeah.
it does, it does. I think that's one. The second FOMO is it's not a passion; it's a must do. So that's my little spiritual side of it. If
Okay.
I'm not able to do that, then that sort of disturbs
That's
me.
your discipline. Yeah.
Yes,
How about
yes.
yourself, Rahul?
There's so many. But I think an important thing now is to spend more time with family.
Yeah.
I didn't earlier. I was so obsessed with work. I didn't. I mean, I'll tell you, I say this to young people. I give my personal example. My wife had a miscarriage and I just left her at a hospital and I went to work
Oh.
because I was obsessive, and I've seen people do this. I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Where work became worship to the extent that their families were, sort of
Yeah.
ignored, neglected. Haven't spent as much time with my kids. I haven't traveled with them as much, but that was largely because of the
Because
Yeah.
you
dogs.
don't. Yeah.
Now my kids are old. I mean, I have.
Now the
they're no
question
longer
is, do
young.
they want to
The
travel with
question
you?
is, do they want to be with me? But I think I have a problem balancing things. I always go into extremities.
Extremes. Yeah.
I need to sort of now balance and say that look, there has to be time for everything, no matter what.
Yeah.
So I have to be that balanced person. I'm trying to be a better person. That's all.
Beautiful. Parul, your biggest FOMO.
So I actually love traveling, especially seaside, and for obvious reasons, it's been restricted.
Yeah.
But I'm really working towards it, and my brother has promised to pick me up from wherever I am and take me around. So
Wow.
if I can work up the guts to do that, so that's my target. I would love to travel much more than I do. That is something I miss, and I also miss swimming a lot.
Oh, okay.
So these are the two things which I really miss.
Yeah. Coming back to the PR side of the world, one campaign which has been a big influence in your work, maybe, or you kind of take a lot of inspiration from coming from PR space. anything that you kind of quote too often or you think is the best benchmark of PR?
I have. I personally feel, there's nothing called best.
Okay.
Best is yet to come.
Hmm.
Best is yet to come, and it's not about. It's not about me as a person or we as a Kaizen or industry. I still feel there is best yet to come.
Hmm.
There are bits and pieces around all of it, but there are a lot of learnings.
Hmm.
Right from a Maggie crisis to the Bonvita crisis. You name this so much.
Yeah.
So much of learning that this should have been done. Even yesterday's crisis or day before's crisis of the employee's death and all of that. There's so much you can learn from each of them, and I think the best. There's nothing more than best, right? So I don't think there's something called best.
Best. Okay.
Yeah, best is yet to come, and best, if given a chance, best will never happen. Because then you've achieved it, right?
Yeah,
It's like you've attained the highest.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
you can't. And one part which I personally, you've not spoken about it, but I want to speak about is this change. Will this change allow you to become best? No. There was a time a front page story will be the best thing ever in life, right?
Yeah.
Now, how much it matters? No. Because the platforms have changed so much. So, there was a forum and I was talking to kids and I was like, in 24 years of my journey, there are 3 24s which I really talk about. The 24 years of my journey, 24 hours it used to take when I started my career to, if there is a crisis, right? That's the most testing time for a PR guy, right? If there is a crisis, I used to get 24 hours to get my version out because it was print, right? If there is a crisis, journalists will go, cover it, get photographs, come back, file a story. So you have from today's day to tomorrow is when he will file. You have time.
Yeah.
In some cases, more than that, if it's a remote area, right? I don't know if you guys, Enron, right?
Yeah,
there
very
was
much.
like crisis.
Covered that.
Yeah. So you would have time. You will be given time to speak around. You'll bring your narrative. You'll do your cross check. What is where? 24 seconds. I have had cases wherein a restaurant manager doesn't know that there is a cockroach in a person who's eating the food. He got to know from outside because he posted it on on Instagram, and so the cases like these, right? You have 24 seconds. A manager inside a factory doesn't know because what has happened, but there's an accident happened on the gate and it's on the Instagram. So that is the change, and I personally feel that when we look at scenarios like these, they're very difficult. And the other part is this best part in a era of earned, owned, paid. There's so many concepts running around. How do I define? For me, anything paid is not best. Finish. You have spent. The basic value of PR is earned. Right? When are you big? You're big not because you feel you're big. You're big when others feel you're big.
Yeah.
Right?
They pinch and poke and
Yeah.
see.
Then they say,
how
oh,
much
no,
are
you're
you?"
big. You're
Yeah.
good. That's
Yeah.
what, there's this famous graphic which we used to say, hey, what is advertising? Advertising is I am a great
Yeah.
lover, right?
Yeah.
And you say, what is PR? No, PR, he's a great lover.
Yeah.
So that's how you learn PR, right? So anything which is owned and paid is not PR. So how do you be best? Because it's all paid, right? It's all money spent.
Yeah.
So that's one concept which I personally feel. But given the scenario where things have changed, platforms are important, platforms has its own economies of scales and things like those, you have to sort of work around all of this. And that is one very interesting thing. And when I say I'm a student of a industry, because of these things, because I'm learning every damn day. today we am taking classes on AI, Chat GPT.
Yeah.
I'm taking those classes. Simple reason is I have to save the brand, the people from the menace of it. Right? So if you don't know, you don't know, right? So I think there are, I mean, I can go on and go on like next 2 hours, but these are few things, and
Yeah.
that's why I feel that, best is yet to come.
Absolutely, very well validated too. But I mean, coming to you've raised a pertinent point on AI and technology is what I wanted to actually drive this conversation to. How are you seeing that facing us down as professionals?
I actually think it's interesting.
It'll
I
be an
don't.
enabler. It'll
It's
be
it's
a
definitely an
okay.
enabler. It already is.
Yeah.
You know, I think we should embrace it.
Hmm.
What it's going to do actually is it's going to commodify a lot of things, right? For example, content, right? Now, one of the things that most agencies face, and I've seen this across the best agencies, is ठीक है हम media तो कर लेते हैं, but our content sucks. Because young people don't read, they can't write.
Right,
Everything can't be written by a Parul or a Vineet or a Rahul, right? So content. So AI is going to be transformative. The challenge is not what it's going to do to us at the PR end. It's what it's also going to do at the media end. Today, for example, I'm just giving you an example, a hypothetical situation. I go with a press release and I call the journalist and I say, my company is doing X. Please, do have a look at it and see how it can fit into your publication or something like that. Tomorrow, it'll not be decided by the journalist on the desk or the beat journalist. It might be AI that deciphers that readership patterns ke basis pe, this is the news that will go and this is the news that will not go.
Oh.
Right? So the journalist will then do news basis maybe, some other.
Yeah.
It won't just necessarily just be the editorial meeting with
Consumption
the editor.
pattern of the
कि अच्छा
media.
ऐसा करते हैं में ये crisis हो गया, let's do a story on that. AI will tell you. So I don't know. I'm just giving
Yeah.
you a hypothetical situation. So that shifts in technology are going to have an huge repercussion on industry across, touching, of course, media and us. So the whole thing of, and Vineet just talked about it, the whole thing of the power of earned media, which is so critical to us. That is what we hold sacred. That's also going to change,
Yeah.
So how is it going to impact people? Can everything be given to machines? No. Will the focus be more on then crisis and advisory, for example, as opposed to bread and butter media relations? Again, these are shifts that are going to happen. I personally, do I think we need to be worried? No. But I think we need to be alert.
Ready.
We need to be ready, and we can be on the front foot. We don't have to be on the defensive all the time. So
Yeah.
when he talked about the fact that he's trying to understand AI and things like that for his company, yeah, I mean, we all have to do that, and we're all doing it in some way or the other. At Burson, for example, we have our own AI tools. My teams now are using it. In fact, sometimes I ask them, are you using AI for this? They say, yeah. I said, oh, great. Because, I still sometimes don't use it naturally. But the young people, they take to technology far better than perhaps older people do.
Yeah.
So I think good things.
But they can't take to reading that fast either. So
That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a millennial and Gen Z
Yeah.
problem.
Yes,
People
yes.
don't read.
Yes.
Parul-
Just coming
No,
on
go
your
ahead, go
part
ahead.
of the story, because you can see it both from the journalistic media and the
Yeah.
consumption point of view. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I agree with all of what Rahul has said. The problem is that when AI, and we already seen that AI can become very efficient at clickbait, and it can efficiently take your press release and throw out something which could also be a AI hallucinations as they are called,
Okay.
and that can totally give a very different impression. I think the biggest challenge for both sides is to use AI in a manner which is credible, because what also happens from the consumption side is that if you send out a piece of content and AI has done it, you'll read the same piece of content across many channels, and it's totally boring. And how do you differentiate your content for your reader, and the reader is it's like multiplied by 100 now what was there even 2 years back. So they are in a media consumption glut, most of which is like cardboard. It's like cardboard, dry cardboard, and they will soon lose the taste for anything masaledar. And when I say masaledar, I don't mean spiced up news, but say proper editorial.
Yeah.
If you're using junk food all the time, you don't like your rajma chawal that much.
Yeah.
So that's a very very big issue, I think,
Oh.
for the media.
Like your palate can completely go
Completely,
off
you
for
would
the
know if
taste.
suppose like our children and then our grandchildren. So what will they know of proper news?
Yeah.
They already don't know it. So that's one problem. The second challenge is the use of data and AI in PR, and I think you all have a great tool at Decipher and Burson. So that's extremely important. The problem with PR and AI is not the tools. The tools are there and they're not that expensive. The problem is training professionals how to use that
Use that.
tool properly. That costs money to be able to invest in upgoing training from the very basic like chat gpt classes, as Vineet says, is taking to more nuanced and better use of the data, and that is critical for demonstrating the power of PR to your clients. So this is where I think it's going to be a very critical 2 years for the PR business, and you might see a lot of consolidation, especially among the medium size firms. You are going to see a lot of consolidation.
There are three things which
Yeah.
I'm giving you a scenario. Say, what is AI doing? Trying to get things done or change GDP from across and create a document for you. Just imagine 5 years later, you will not have a fresh content because it's the same content.
Totally.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
just think about scenario which is 5 years later, right? So that's point number one. Point number two, my own case study, Kaizen's case study. There's a lot of author articles we do. I sent an authored article to a good friend for a placement. He sent me a message, Vineet, this has a 83% chat GPT score.
Oh. Plagiarism. Like,
And that is the day one when I realized, oh God.
God. Yeah.
Now, that's where we started saying any content, any press release has to be a chat GPT score coming in for me.
Okay.
No. So, as a policy, anything which is above 10% is not allowed. Will not go to the client, will not go to the... You have to bring in the, work on this.
Yeah.
Now, third very important point. There was a BCG study. I was, I'm mostly a headline reader when it comes to the newspaper. Anything which interests, then I keep it,
Yeah.
scan it and keep it so that I can read it. So this BCG study, it says that if our dependence on AI increase, we might just lose our brain cells.
Yes.
in this
Ability to
world.
think.
Ability
I
to
agree.
think.
Critical thinking.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So now, it's right now when I'm talking about it, I feel it's a menace. I honestly feel, and see, understand, for new generation, it's not about, it's a ease of doing thing. We have been like that. So you need to actually keep harping this messaging, guys, please do not dig your grave. Use your brains. What will you talk to other people? How will you talk to other people? The first thing I ask them, read newspapers, read newspaper. At least there's something which you can continue with, right? So I think there are a lot of these messages which are very important.
Yeah.
No,
But the
AI
areas are too gray. Like, while we are obviously inspiring them to be, getting into reading, news consumption, but we know where the news making is going. We know where the ethics are going to, right? So, I mean, a quick roundup on this. I think we are really running way against time here. But a quick roundup on how do you see crisis management to news development to patterns of creativity happening in PR. What'll save the day for us?
God, that's a lot to round up. so I would definitely say that crisis communication without proper data Also, without you'll have to look at things like, can I scrub the internet of certain messaging which has gone out? So there are, even till 5 years back, there were companies who specialized in that. So that's going to be the online crisis reputation management is going to get more insane as fake videos. You saw what happened with Trump and Taylor Swift, the fake video he put out saying that she supported him. So that kind of things will happen increasingly. So you have to really be able to address that. Creativity in PR lies in being able to straddle multiple platforms to be able to customize the messages. That one size fit all piece of content obviously is gone long back, but even more, it'll have to be more nuanced and separated even more. You have cases like what you see, Faye D'Souza doing. She
Yeah.
has different styles of content for YouTube, for Instagram,
Instagram
and
and
for her
for-
Instagram channels. It's
Yeah.
all separate.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to. That market is telling you that this is what they want. So if as a PR person you're saying I don't know how to customize X piece, and I don't know how to get creative with this, then you're going to have a big problem. So three things I would say. Get your online crisis communication skills, understand the tech, and make that an ongoing thing. Get creative with identifying and nuancing your content, and the third thing is keep an eye on the what YouTube journalists are doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great takeaway. Yeah, Rahul.
I think crisis is great because it's more money for us. So, I mean, but
Keeps us in the job.
it keeps us. Yeah, I mean, and to Parul's point, deep fakes, AI,
Yeah.
they will create more crisis because it's not only uh, uh, you know uh, big companies or the problem is this can be done by crisis can be created now by ordinary actors, which is the man on the street. He will have
Yeah.
the tools on his
Yeah.
mobile
Yeah.
phone
Yeah.
to do something against, say, a multinational and create a problem, right? So ye hone wala hai. But that said, I think the opportunity for agencies is really integration. I think the great plus side is earned, paid, owned, merging together. Social, digital, the confluence of that with what we have traditionally done. Agencies like ours are already doing that. Burson, Edelman, I'm sure Kaizen, and so many others. I think that is where the creativity will really come from, because creativity in our business has been sporadic, right? Because most 80% of what we do is run of the mill. कि article आया भेज दिया. Yes, in the article there is elements of creativity. How you write and fashion a press release has elements of creativity. And yes, can ChatGPT or generative AI necessarily do that? No, you need a human behind that.
Yeah.
AI is a facilitator. It
Yeah,
can
yeah.
be a tool. It's like how we moved from the fax machine to email. It's really like that. But you can't say that AI say ab hum sab cheez karenge, because that poses its own risk. But I think the confluence of earned, paid, and owned is really going to help creativity come out in a much bigger way for agencies, which is really going to be truly, truly amazing in terms of the campaigns that you can create. You're already doing it. Agencies are putting out fantastic campaigns which rival things that traditionally, advertisers did. But I think, for everyone to do it, that journey is started. We're on the right track.
Super. And what's your last and final thought on that? You've really given us some great insights, Vineet, today.
So, crisis, very interesting area. First, what crisis does? Crisis makes everybody believe in credibility, which comes from earned media. So that is one positive side of crisis. When crisis hits, everybody start looking towards earned media, which is great.
Yeah.
So I think that's one part. The second is, it's not about when the crisis hits, it's about foolproofing your crisis communication strategy. Today, crisis can happen anywhere. It can break in traditional media and played on social, digital, blah, blah, blah. It can break on social
Totally.
media and run on traditional, right? So it's vice versa. So it's not about them versus us when
Yeah.
from a PR point, because still a lot of social digital business are with advertising agency
Yeah.
or digital agencies.
Yeah.
But in a crisis, it is so important to have a central command which can look into everything around and make it. Lot of case studies, right? Whether we say a Bonvita case study, it's a platform, right? Food farmer, respected platform,
Yeah.
right? So that has given you created a story which, and then played on traditional media and blah blah blah. So I think crisis, when it comes to it, that control on all narratives, all platforms is one big thing, which is an opportunity I see. The other change, which as an agencies, which we have started practicing, that not all, but we have started treating lot of content creators as journalists.
Yeah.
So that is what we're trying to do. That
Yeah.
you see, the money is the second part, but how do you work with them? I have learned that if you're doing something new, first do an awareness campaign. Don't go straight into the deliveries story. What we used to do workshop for journalists, that this is happening. There's an and you'll bring them down and you'll do those 2 hour session.
Yeah.
You'll bring experts to talk about a subject, how it will
Yeah.
change out. So we've never done that with that community.
Yeah.
So that is gonna change. And when in crisis hits, that's gonna help you. Right? How do you create? See, in a situation like crisis, what is most important is a smallest voice in your favor or putting in your point. A smallest voice also is very useful.
That's
So
true.
you need to create that more and more people put your point of view out, right? And manage it. So I think that's one. Rest is, of course, a lot of, strategies, the way you think, the way you react, the team which is counseling you is so important there, right?
Totally. I think that's a fabulous roundup. Until any of you have any further thoughts, we can call it a day. We can call it a show. So thank you so much to each one of you to totally being unbounded, bringing your personal, professional, and so many other sides all up here. Really grateful to have taken out this time. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I did.
Absolutely.
Any
Thank
last
you.
words for Unbound?
Thank you, Mamta. It's been wonderful speaking to all of you, I would say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful.
As I said, thank you, Mamta, with double A.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
And I think I really enjoyed the show. You really had very softly brought in a lot of things, which is very very good. And mostly what I enjoyed is I didn't feel like that it's a show.
Yeah, so that is totally unbounding together. So let's keep
Keep
Unbounding together.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. And for all the episodes, you can come back to Unbound with Mamta, now available on 20 plus audio streaming platforms: Spotify, Amazon, Ghana, iTunes, Google Podcasts, or wherever else you get your audio. We are also available on YouTube, so keep unbounding together.